Hi, this is Dave, Fellow Running Guide. Welcome to this week's map reading task. This week I've got two photographs, different trig points, and each one has got a reservoir behind it in the distance. And I've got two maps. And what I want you to do is see if you can work out which map matches the photo. Can you find the trig point on the map, and can you find the reservoir on the map? So here's trig point 1, looks like it's fairly recently repainted, nice and white, and it's got a reservoir or a body of water off behind it to the right. And then another trig point, a little bit worse for wear in terms of paint, but again it's got a reservoir off to the right and behind it. On this map we've got a choice of two trig points. We've got 234 here, 236 here, and we've also got two reservoirs, Parsonage Reservoir and Dean Clough Reservoir. So a few things to think about on that one. And then the second map, we've just got one trig point there, Gun at 385, but we've got two reservoirs, Rudyard Reservoir on the left over in the west, and then Tittersworth further east. Okay, so we need to have a look a bit more closely at the photographs. So the obvious difference is that on this photo the reservoir seems much further away than on this photo. So can we work out which map has the reservoir closest to the trig point? That'll be a good place to start. So here, regardless of whether we're looking at this trig and these reservoirs or this trig and these reservoirs, these seem significantly closer than that, looking over there. So I think we can say that this map here matches the photo with the grey trig point, the one that's a bit older looking, which is this one here. So as we look down from this trig point, we can see that this bit here, the furthest right, if you like, part of the reservoir, is wide. Looks like almost man-made. Maybe that's the dam wall, the embankment wall there. So which of these are we looking at? Well, if we were looking from this trig point here over to the dam wall there, then surely just ahead of us we would see this big TV mast there. And also we may see the road just ahead of us because it's the same level as us, the same elevation. So we can't be looking from the 236 over to there. And if we were looking to this Parsonage Reservoir, then the embankment wall would be to the left as we look, and the narrow point would be to the right. So that doesn't make sense. What about if we were looking from the 234? Well, we couldn't be looking over to Dean Clough Reservoir because the embankment wall would be to the left, on the left-hand side of the reservoir. So that means we've got to be looking from there over to Parsonage with the wide part of the reservoir there. Why can't we see the road? Well, notice the contour lines, it dips down and it's hidden away from us in what we might call hidden ground or dead ground. So the let's have this as first choice then. So the grey trig point is looking from 234 over to Parsonage Reservoir. What about the white trig point? Well, notice to the left of it we can see farmland, so the reservoir doesn't start until somewhere behind the trig, obscured from the trig. But again, if we zoom in, we can have a look at a little bit more detail. Looks like we've got an inlet of some kind going in there, and then there looks like the embankment wall. So if we were looking from this trig over to Rudyard Reservoir, well, we can't see any farmland here. It doesn't mean that there isn't any. It's just that this is a longer and thinner reservoir, whereas this is a bit broader. And we were looking to the far bank and looking for some inlets. Well, there aren't any on there, whereas on Tittersworth Reservoir we've got that inlet there, and we've also got the dam wall to our right, and we can see up to the north of the reservoir the land where the reservoir hasn't yet begun. So that makes sense for that. So the answers were that Gun trig point, the white trig point, was that one looking over to the reservoir at Tittersworth, and the grey trig point, the one with the closer reservoir, was that one there, the 234 height, looking over to Parsonage Reservoir. So I hope you got those right. Thanks for watching. Look out for next week's map reading task. Bye for now.